Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this edition of Global Insight on For You Media Africa. It is the first for this week, and today, the 22nd of October 2024. On the table, we're looking at the Brics Summit, which is opened in the Russian city of Kazan, and asking the question of what clear agenda for the bloc as leaders assemble to discuss or deliberate on key issues. The 16th edition of the Brics Summit under the chairmanship of the Russian Federation is opened in the Russian city of Kazan, bringing together member countries, high-profile invitees, and other relevant stakeholders that align with the Brics ideology and agenda of a multipolar world. It is holding under the theme strengthening multilateralism for a just global development and security. Experts alert that the Brics Summit in Kazan represents a pivotal gathering on the horizon, signaling a potential shift in the global geopolitical landscape. Host leader Vladimir Putin, together with his peers and other influential leaders, are expected to brainstorm urgent topics ranging from economic cooperation, national digital currencies, the need for a more inclusive global governance structure, and also discuss the expansion of the bloc, notably for the first time since its expansion, which welcomed Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, the United Arab Emirates into the fold. Brics is poised to redefine its strategic objectives, presenting a united front probably against the backdrop of waning Western dominance in international affairs. According to reports, Brics in its expanded form represent over 45% of the world's population. The summit therefore represents not only a series of diplomatic or bilateral meetings, but marks a new era of collaboration and transformation on the global stage as the bloc actually moves towards ensuring a multipolar world or a new world order. And we ask this question: what is that unique agenda that the Brics bloc can bring to the table to help navigate the transformative world? Together with a panel of experts, we're going to analyze deeply these peculiarities of this Brics Summit, the 16th edition holding in Kazan, Russia, to note that it is the first to hold in the new dispensation of the bloc that is admitting new members, which we just highlighted. So we're going to navigate all areas: politics, economics, and you can name the rest, just to mention that it is a discursive and informative show, Global Insight. And of course, we are going to be live on Facebook and For You, and YouTube, For You Media Africa English. We welcome all your comments as we continue to discuss issues of topical importance. Now let's move straight away to acknowledging the guests who are already locked in, and I take you to South Africa to welcome Paseka Faromele, academia, member of Pan-Africanism and the Convention for Pan-Africanism and Progress. Saubani Paseka.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm looking forward to engaging my fellow panelists on this important subject matter. Thank you.
Thank you too for giving importance to this very topic, which is looking at the place of Brics, especially as the world is advocating for a new world order, a new setting that will inculcate particularly countries of the global south. And to the United States of America, we are welcoming Achille Eke, economist, banker, international financial expert. Welcome to the program, sir.
Good afternoon, Clarice. Good afternoon, all the viewers of this fantastic show. I am back in the United States after a short stay in Cameroon for 3 weeks. So we had a chance to discover, the beautiful studio where this broadcast is being done from. So I really appreciated the opportunity to meet you and other people behind the camera that are doing the legwork to make sure this program, it reaches all the different corners of the world. So thank you for inviting me once more, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you to Achille Eke. Just to highlight that you are also expert in corporate finance and the CEO of the investment bank called the Washington Valuation Group, located in Washington in the United States of America, and author of a new book titled From Beginner to Pro, E-Commerce Business Valuation Strategies for Online Sellers, which was published, ladies and gentlemen, on the 15th of August 2024. Joining us live from Kazan is Purnima Anand, who is President Brics International Forum. Hello to you, madam. Thanks for honoring our invitation this day.
Hello, Clarice. Very happy to see you, and Global Site Insight is working so well. Always you catch the international important topics. And now from Kazan, international stage is ready, and we are waiting for New World Order Insight. And through your channel, I will share whatever I am looking here.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much to invite me.
Of course, and I will kickstart with you, dear Purnima. You are live on the field there in Kazan, Russia. So what is the atmosphere like as the first day of the 16th edition of the BRICS Summit opens in the Russian city?
Clarice, yes, from yesterday, all the leaders from international community arrived, and our Prime Minister Narendra Modi, China President Mr. Jinping, I observed Mr. Ramaphosa from South Africa. They all arrived here, and so many other international leaders and experts and media people are here. Here you will feel, first of all, very high security, and secondly, it is like a festival kind of atmosphere is here. Everywhere flags and banners are all over the roads, and schools are closed. Nearly 20,000 people are away from the central part of the BRICS Summit. So the state head, Mr. Rice, welcomed the international guest at airport, and in morning, President Putin had bilateral meeting with BRICS New Development Bank chief, and they discuss about currency issues. And secondly, bilateral meetings are happening from afternoon till evening, and now I think all guests are in gala dinner. So we are expecting declarations tomorrow, and among these declarations, peace treaty and currency is the main issue. Okay. So it is a new stage of new democratic values. Let's see what declarations will come for New World Order and for the humanitarian cooperation for our BRICS countries, and how new economic development will take place. So tomorrow we will see after declarations.
Absolutely. It is imperative to understand all of the stakes as the leaders are meeting in Kazan. And we continue with you, Achille Eke, giving, taking a holistic approach of what you think about the peculiarities of this summit, what it stands to present to the global world, where we have noticed shifting alliances and maybe new cooperations.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Clarice. The BRICS Summit in Kazan presents a pivotal moment for Africa to assess its role in reshaping global governance structures. From a Pan-Africanist perspective, the summit's agenda offers both opportunities and challenges for the continent, which has long been marginalized in international decision-making processes. So Pan-Africanism as an ideological force seeks to unite Africans African nations and people in their struggle against historical subordination and also economic exploitation by global powers. So the Kazan summits focus on promoting multipolar world order aligns with Pan-African aspirations to dismantle the remnants of colonial and neo-colonial economic structures that have perpetuated inequalities and hindered development across Africa. So the potential expansion of Brics through new partnerships could provide African countries with a platform to collectively negotiate better terms in global trade and global finance as well. So, this aligns with the Pan-African goal of fostering continental integration and unity, as evidenced by initiatives, like the African Continental Free Trade Area, which aims to boost intra-African trade and therefore reduce dependency on external powers. Despite these opportunities, African nations must navigate several challenges to leverage Brics for their benefit, right? So, on the economic sovereignty aspect, African countries must assert their economic sovereignty by developing policies that prioritize local needs over external interest. So this involves moving away from neoliberal policies that have historically favored Western interests at the expense of African development. And then on the collective bargaining side, the strength of Pan-Africanism lies in its ability to mobilize collective action. So African nations should use the Brics platform to advocate for reforms in global financial institutions, aiming for more equitable representation and decision-making power. On the sustainable development aspect, as Brics discusses sustainable development and energy transitions, African countries should push for solutions that address their unique challenges, such as access to clean energy and climate adaptation funding. So overall, for Pan-Africanism to effectively influence global transformation through Brics, African leaders must demonstrate political will and unity. This involves transcending national interest to embrace a continental vision that prioritizes the welfare of all Africans. By doing so, Africa can position itself as a formidable force in global governance, advocating for a fairer economic system that benefits not only the continent, but also contributes to global stability and prosperity. So to conclude, the Kazan summit represents a critical juncture for Africa within the Brics framework. By embracing Pan-African principles of unity, self-reliance, and collective action, African nations can play a significant role in shaping a new world order that is more just and equitable. Thank you.
Indeed, creating a new world order that is more just and equitable. As the bloc stands with a unified agenda, there is also need to determine, of course, what agenda Africa needs to bring to the table, and if the continent and, of course, African countries representing in the Brics already have a clear agenda to exploit this scope to fast-track the changes that Africa needs, which will align, like you've said, Mr. Ashil Eki, with the philosophy of Pan-Africanism. And this takes us to the next question, directing to you, Paseka Faromeli. Of course, the South African President Cyril Ramaphosa is already in Kazan, and while deliberations are going on, he has advocated for the need for other Brics member countries to ensure that they work together with the African continent to build boost industrialization drive for the continent to thrive in this new world order. So with this, what can you allude as per the scope for Africa at the BRICS and the peculiarities of the Kazan summit?
Thank you, Clarice. This is I fully understand where the president is coming from in his argument that there needs to be a combined effort for us to successfully be able to enable the continent of Africa to move forward in its industrialization. This primarily comes from the fact that a lot of the parties involved in the summit itself do not necessarily share similar ideological positions, and this thus makes it a bit difficult for Africa itself in its premise to successfully be able to work within itself. What I'm trying to say is basically you have countries within the continent itself which fail to successfully work together for them to be able to cooperate to a point where you could successfully be able to move Africa forward. So in him saying that there needs to be better cooperation and collaboration between countries that are involved in BRICS, he is basically just trying to hint at this idea that better collaboration is much needed, not just with external parties, but within parties that are within the continent itself. Yeah. And with that, then we might be to see a much better position for ourselves and a much better position for our fellow BRICS members who are external, because a stronger African continent means that you have a stronger BRICS organization. So I do think that this is very important, especially with the context that has been provided. Thank you, Clarice.
Thank you so much, Paseka, for the introductory statement, and it is imperative for what you've said. But then, what can we make of the summit? What clear agenda does the BRICS bring to the table in the transformative world? Just been informed that Dr. Nyaka Lagoge has joined. He's a professor of history and Pan-African studies at Lincoln University, Pennsylvania, in the United States of America. Welcome, of course, for the first time to Global Insight, your discursive program, Dr. Lagoge, and we are looking at the stakes as leaders meet in Kazan, as meet in the platform to discuss the global world, a new world order. In your own capacity or perspective, what do you think is that clear agenda that these leaders can bring to the table to make the world of multipolarity a clear one that will inculcate, of course, the interest of nations, particularly in the global south, and most importantly, defending the African agenda?
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm glad to be here with Nima and my friend Paseka Farumele, and the gentleman and who spoke very well about Pan-Africanism. The first thing that I want to say is that for me, the BRICS the institution gives the power of choice to African countries. This is one thing I say. We welcome the existence of the BRICS. Because the institution is going to contribute to the building of a polycentric world, because we want multiple centers of power in life, in the world, because when you have only one bloc that is dominating the entire world, that is imposing its worldview, of course, it may alienate other cultures and other worldviews. Absolutely. That is the first thing. The second thing, as Pan-Africanists, we welcome the existence of the BRICS so that it can give a leverage to those African leaders who are fighting for the sovereignty of Africa, to contribute to the building or to the construction of a better world. But contrary to many people who are so excited about the BRICS, I'm going to say something which is going to be a little bit different from what everyone is saying about the BRICS.
Yeah.
For me, I have an issue with the fact that the modus operandi of the BRICS, when it comes to the economic worldview, seem to be in line with the neoliberal worldview that is dominating international affairs or international economy. On this, I'm going to take no more than 2 minutes, and that will be my vision about how I see the BRICS. What we want to see, we want the BRICS to bring a new philosophy, a new economic philosophy to the world. Because when you have a new philosophy, then everything that you do has to be according to that new philosophy. If the West has been plundering the resources, exploiting the world in the name of capitalism or in the name of neoliberalism, the countries of the BRICS, they have some alternative worldviews. And then quickly, Russia, they have a concept called MIR, M-I-R, which is called the village nation, which is about community. In India, they have Satyagraha, which means hold fast to the truth, which also put emphasis on what? Community. Yeah. Brazil, under the leadership of Lula, we have Bolsa Família, which help Brazil lift millions of people out of poverty. Yeah. And in the case of South Africa, we have the Ubuntu philosophy, which puts emphasis on community, humanism, and then collectivism. And then we have in China Confucianism, which is also about community and then like humanity. Yeah. And now that the BRICS opened its doors to countries, to Islamic countries, then we have the same notion called Ummah for the Muslim, which puts emphasis on the notion of what? Community. For me, these values, which have in common humanity, humanness, collectivism, should be the alternative worldviews that the BRICS countries should take in order to promote a new worldview or a new economic system. Yeah. Because the way they're doing business now, we don't see like a major difference. They may contribute to building a polycentric world. We don't see a major difference in the way they want to do business with Africa. It's not that different from the way the West has been doing business with Africa. Mm-hmm. By doing those contracts and giving 15 of less than 20% of those African nations, these have to change based on the change of a philosophy. That is my first take on the conversation about the BRICS.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nyaka Lakoki. Of course, and your analysis comes to validate our topic, which is asking what a new agenda or clear agenda can the BRICS bloc bring in, in this transformative world. Madam Purnima, you may want to maybe comment on this ideology or this viewpoint shared by Dr. Nyaka Lakoki on how the BRICS, the new BRICS that has opened its doors for more members, can navigate this transformation phase and bring forth a defined philosophy. What do you think can be done to review or redefine the modus operandi of the BRICS bloc as leaders deliberate in Kazan?
Right now in 2024, we are organizing 16th BRICS Summit. And now we become teenager in the BRICS conferences. And, we are having many blocs in the world like G20, G7, and United Nations, Security Council, NATO. And BRICS is also a rising economic group. And what we are expecting, what transformation will happen, this is a very important question of today conversation. What I am feeling that during this BRICS 2024 summit, two, three agendas are very important, and I don't think that our leaders will reach to any solution on that, because Ukraine-Russia crisis is their border problem, and this is between Russia and Ukraine. International agencies cannot solve their border issues. So they have to decide, and Mr. Zelensky cannot go back because he is having backup by NATO and Western countries. And President Putin cannot go back because it is important to save his borders. So on this agenda, I don't think any transformation easily is possible. Second agenda is currency, because now BRICS countries wants to do their bilateral trade, or in the Eastern world they want to do trade. And World Trade Organization having their international legislation which every country follows. And secondly, every country is having federal bank, central bank, which governs all the bank of that country. If we will give another currency in BRICS bloc, that means we have to shake our all central banks. And if our central banks will shake up, then all the country banks will shake up. So it is also not very easy to declare BRICS currency or any other currency because all countries cannot be commonly agree on this issue. Yes, President Putin 2-3 days back declared in one conversation that they are agreed on new currency, on digital currency. So this transformation is really good, and it is happening through BRICS platform. It is also good because already we are working on Bitcoin and USDT and many other cryptocurrencies. So I think this transformation is happening. And secondly, before BRICS currency, people are the two countries are interested to do bilateral trade, and this bilateral trade can be do by their local currencies or against the gold. So these possibilities are happening, and in Eastern countries, this new trade circulation is started already. So this transformation are going on. And third thing, which is very important, is security. Under security regimes, we are observing that in BRICS countries, every country is having their border problem. Okay, so like we are having India is having border problem with Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and China. And around our border problem, we cannot solve in one day or in one conference. There is long conversations and long understanding of security organization is required. Recently in St. Petersburg, our Security Council chiefs met during BRICS Summit routine meetings. And from India, Mr. Ajit Dubal, and from China, Mr. Wang was present. And BRICS is the platform where we can have good dialogue with China, and China can discuss with India. So there, these two security chiefs discussed, and they decided that they will shortcut the defense budgets, and without confrontation, they will make the solutions at their borders. So it is a very big transformation, and due to this discussion and agreement, India and China will be able to save their 75% of defense budget. It is very big deal, and we are having one security among us, that we will not attack on each other. So this transformation is very important through BRICS platform between China and India. This is the result we can say. Similarly, India is doing more transactions with Islamic world. UAE is very active, and Islamic banks are having different regime of giving loans and funds. So this new blend between Islamic banks and current federal banks and BRICS New Development Bank will create new opportunities for the investment and finance system, and new fintech technologies will also get benefit from these new blends of finances. So this is another transformation. And one more important issue is climate change.
Okay.
So I feel China and India and Russia are very active on it, and Russia is having credits against energy and carbon bonds, and China is having very big funds of ESG, and they are working on green technology. Recently, I was in China and work with them on Belt and Road Initiative.
Okay.
So they are having all the development on this route by green technologies and green funds. So this is a good information for the world that how we can organize our common agendas with carbon credits and green technologies and green funds.
Okay.
So I hope these common agendas are very good for all our international players and stakeholders. And this is good thing that from the Brics platform, all these new beginnings are happening.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, dear Punima. And of course, listening to the analysis you've brought forth, it brings us to the conclusion that to be able to have this clear agenda, there is need for a compromise and more practical collaboration that will make the new world different from what is already existing. And coming back to you, Mr. Ashil Eki, let's look at it from the economic viewpoint. Dr. Lagoki highlighted something very peculiar, that people actually, some pundits have been sharing the same opinion, how to make the new world order different in all dimensions from the existing world order, like maybe not just moving from, dominance moving from the west to the east, whereas the system remains the same, or just a particular people coming to the helm. From the economic perspective, how can, structures like the Brics be a solution to maybe redefining the international financial architecture that will, bring about a compromise in, some other countries dominating others, but ensure that nations have, economic decisions to make that will benefit the global world in the new world order, and particularly driven by the expanded Brics bloc?
Well, that's a very good question. And Dr. Nyaka Nagoke mentioned that he's looking for Brics to bring in a new philosophy, especially on the economic front. And I don't know if Brics were created or Brics came together as a result of an ideology. I don't think they came together as a result of an ideology. It's more or as a result of trying to get away from the West and all these institutions, all the domination and everything else that that we've been dealing with for the past few centuries. So it's more of a reaction. It's more reactionary than really philosophical. And the goal here is to allow every country in the world to do business with whoever they choose to do business without any hindrance from the United States or from the West. And so it's more of a liberating or liberation objective, than an ideological group. So, and I don't think that would work. I mean, we used to have communism in the past against capitalism. That whole system, broke down and everything. And so I don't think that's what people going into Brics are looking for. People going to Brics are looking for opportunity to do business with whomever they choose to, without having the nose of the CIA, of the FBI, or the Department of Treasury, or whoever from the United States, putting their eyes on it and listening to what's going on, having a say, especially using the dollar. So they are trying to break those ties with the dollars as well, and try to use their own currency to do business without having to necessarily use the dollar to buy whatever product they want to buy, like oil and anything else. So that's how Brics came about. It's more of as a reaction to the U.S. expansion, domination, the dollar domination, the United States control over the world economy, than an ideological group or something that was thought out in the past, maybe a vision or philosophy they want to put forth. So that is the thing, and I don't think if we go back to the different ideology that we used to have in the past, people will like what the BRICS will give them. So I think people going to BRICS is just for them to be able to free themselves from the domination of the West. So that is the goal of the BRICS. It's not an ideological group. And what Dr. Nyaka is talking about is trying to figure out how the BRICS can create an ideology that would encompass, all these countries and all the different economic philosophies and create one philosophy for all these members. I don't think that's feasible, not at this point anyway. So it's going to be challenging if they try to do that, because the world already went through those different blocks, philosophical blocks, for the past few years and centuries, and it keeps the world on edge of war all the time. No one has time to think of development. We keep thinking about how to protect ourselves from the other bloc, and that is not what the world wants today. So that's what I would say. I don't think it's a good idea to do that. What is important for Africa, for example, if Africa is an African, is for us to have the opportunity to do business with whom we choose to. It's too much of the West bearing on our shoulders to figure out, hey, what is it that we're doing? Try to figure out what is it that we want to do. How do we prevent you from doing it? How do they prevent us from doing things that would go against their own interests, their own agenda, their own things. So no, we want to believe, we want to be free. That's what multilateralism is. What's that? Multipolarity is the concept of BRICS. Multipolarity, different polarities. No one group or no one country can dominate the world. Everybody should be playing its own cards in the world to allow everybody to succeed, by its own means, using its own currencies, using its own economic policy or monetary policy so that's what the world wants today, and that's what I would say would be able to help Africa figure out its own path, because if we stay into blocks, then we're back to what we used to be in the past. So that's not going to help us much.
Okay, thank you for that, Shiolaki. And of course, the underlining question is, what is the feasibility of all of these, and what can we pick from what the world has been, especially after the Second World War, in 1940, after 1945, a new setting came that we are still actually living under. And I think that is the reason why many countries, so new emerging powers, are advocating for these, differences or maybe practical reforms to be implemented at every level to bring about a more balanced world. And coming back to you, Pasika Faramali, we just mentioned the fact that we have emerging global powers and, of course, bringing about changes in the world's setting. So in your own perspective, first of all, trying to identify those indicators of global transformations, and what do you think the emerging powers which are, grouping under the BRICS bloc can maybe the role they can play to shape this new world order, and of course with the respect of sovereignty. Here, sovereignty, we're not just talking about political sovereignty, but primarily economic sovereignty, which has actually hijacked, many countries in Africa are not able to thrive economically because there is not that, economic independence. So how can we use these indicators of global transformations under the BRICS to reshape or redefine the setting of the global world?
Thank you, Clarice. I don't know, Nyaga, I felt that you wanted to respond to Brother Chile. I'm not sure. Did you want to?
No. So
No, I will actually
Clarice,
come subsequently to that, Paseka.
yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
Yes.
Clarice is doing the show. So
All right. Thank you. I think that there's a problem, and I've been thinking about what Brother Chile just spoke to, which basically goes back and it speaks to the question that you've just asked about what is it that these new powers can actually do to successfully navigate us out of the situation that we are in. There's a fundamental thing that the brother spoke to, that people just want to survive and exit from the disparities that they currently face. No one wants war. No one wants to struggle. You know, sure. Unfortunately, in terms of what we are seeing in our modern day reality, there are still countries that are psychologically and ideologically stuck in the Cold War. Countries that believe that when you align yourself with a specific country, your ideas, your economic ideas specifically, anti them. So they basically believe that there shouldn't be a multipolar way of thinking and looking at the world, but there should be a one set way of looking at the world and existing. And that is very problematic. These are countries that eventually end up influencing elections of different countries. These are countries that eventually affect, these are countries that start civil wars in these countries. Specifically, the country that I'm referring to is the United States, is one of those where we can make the argument that ideally countries want to survive. We just want to align ourselves to countries that want the same thing that we want. But in practice and in reality, that is not the case, because a lot of the countries, we can look at, for example, in South America, if they come out and say that they are fully in support of ideologies and ideas that are shared by China and Russia, and I'm not saying that China and Russia have exact ideologies, but if they align themselves with them, there tends to be some repercussions to that from their northern neighbors. There tends to be some kind of tension between themselves and them, and which is why I find it very problematic why the United States has frowned the way that it has frowned on Russia trying to protect its boundaries by trying to neutralize the Ukraine when the Ukraine wants to align itself with NATO and the United States. It's quite interesting because the United States would not allow Russia to be able to have a military base just next to them. And there's this contradiction that also happens, and I do understand that I've not spoken directly to your question, but I will get to that. Absolutely, I just wanted to get this point across, where they say, if you listen to what NATO is saying consistently, that China is hostile, but you look at a country like China, you look at Russia, and you look at which country has military bases around them, and compared to them, if China itself has any military bases around that said country, you see this hypocrisy that I'm speaking to. Yeah. There is this specific problem that I want to identify when speaking to the ideas that we can liberate ourselves economically and be able to align ourselves with any country that we want to, because there is a country specifically, as I said, the United States, that I believe that is in perpetual what do you call this? In perpetual tension. Basically, they are always ready to go to war for their economic ideologies or for their political ideologies, even though I do not believe that they have the same ideology themselves within the United States political spectrum. So that was just to speak to something that I believe that Brother Chile spoke to, that it is important for us to keep in mind that it is not that easy for us to take a decision so that we can align with whoever we want to align with, because there are forces that are not enabling or allowing of that, and they will take control of what they want to take control of through force if needs be. Mm-hmm. So the countries that you are referring to specifically in this context, we are looking at these medium economies that are trying to get themselves further up high. They have potential to actually move there. I think that they call developing economies. They have potential to actually get there, but what they will need is they will need collaboration with these other major economies, specifically in the context of Brics, China and Russia. They will need decent collaboration, which does not negate the sovereignty of the sovereignties of these said countries, these growing countries and growing economies. So if we have a situation where China and Russia does not play the role that the West has played, then we have a chance and a possibility of us finding ourselves in a different economic reality and spectrum. So if that was to happen, then we would be able to navigate out of the grasp of Western powers, economic and military powers, to find ourselves in a position of success that is outside Western ideology. And I do like the idea that Nyaga did mention, because it's an idea that we discussed over the years of thinking outside of what is currently common practice in terms of economic upliftment, where you start thinking of economic upliftment from all these different places, where you have these similar ideas of communities helping each other. But this does not necessarily speak to the idea of communism. Like he said, in South Africa, we have this principle of Ubuntu, which is very important because that can become a very functional economic system. But because we've been indoctrinated into thinking either socialism, communism, and capitalism, it becomes very difficult to see any other economic system that could actually navigate us off our current situations and realities. If we were to be able to decolonize those ideas that we believe are preset, and they are the only ways to think about economy, the transfer of wealth, and freedom, basically, and political freedom specifically, then we will be able to find ourselves in a different position from where we currently find ourselves. Thank you, Clarice. I spoke for too long. I apologize.
Okay, of course, thank you. It was, of course, necessary. And it brings us already to some of the challenges that we have ahead as we continue to look up to the Brics to bring about this new world order of multipolarity, bringing all parties on the table and listening to their own viewpoint. I think you want to comment particularly, Dr. Nyaka Lagogi, maybe on what Mr. Ashil Eki alluded regarding your viewpoint, and probably come again with the question of what you think the collaborative effort among Brics can do to reshape the Brics and bring about a clear agenda that aligns with its preamble and the present dynamics of the 21st century.
Yeah, thank you. I think I don't know if he actually is an economist. I suspect that he may be an economist, and then he may even be somebody who believes in a neoliberal worldview, or maybe the liberal worldview. This is what I'm suspecting. So I was not talking about communism here. I've never been a socialist. I've never been a communist. The only thing I was saying is that, and you said it yourself, even when I came, and Paseka, everything that I'm hearing, the Brics countries want to build a polycentric world.
Yeah.
So when you want to build a polycentric world, what does it mean? It means that people want to have freedom. Right. And when people have freedom, it is about what? Economic freedom. The freedom, to trade with whomever you want, the freedom to engage in any direction that you think is good for your people. So the Brics countries try that. This is what when I say that they give the power of choice, because they're reinforcing the ability for African countries to enjoy to enjoy the freedom of diversifying the partners and then taking the different routes they want for the interest of the African countries or for the global South. This is the beginning. When we talk about neoliberalism today, the way they're doing business, there are some principles. One of them is the consensus of Washington. It is about what? You have to privatize, or you have to outsource, or you have to, they want less state. These are principles of what they call the economic rationality. These are principles of neoliberalism. And then what the Brics countries want to do as they're building or shaping the world geopolitics, they want to de-dollarize the international economy, and they want to contribute to the decolonization of international economy. So what I'm suggesting is that, how do you decolonize? Like Clarice said, we don't want the West to be replaced by the East or by the Brics countries on the pattern of doing business with Africa. So this is what I'm saying. So as we want to heal the planet, to quote Michael Jackson and Barack Obama, as we want a better world, we want that world to be sustained by values of humanity. And the values of humanity, of humaneness, of collectivism, of sharing compassions, those values can be found in the ideologies of the founding members of the Brics countries. And also, we can find the same ideologies in the values of the countries of like Egypt and Islamic countries that joined the Brics. And I'm going to say it again. China has Confucianism, India has Satyagraha, Brazil has Bolsa Familia, Russia has Me, South Africa has Ubuntu, the Islamic countries have Umma. All of them, they put emphasis on what? Solidarity, compassion, sharing. That's why I said that if they want to bring a new worldview, they want to do a new way of doing business, they should not do the way the US is doing business, that put emphasis on the interests of a small number of people to the detriment of the interests of the masses. Now, as I move to the next level, one thing that I've seen that I want to talk about is that there are countries like in Africa, like the Sahel states. We have Mali, we have Burkina Faso, and then we have Niger. These countries, they have shown to the West the interest to be free. They even asked the Americans and the French to leave their respective countries. If I were Bernima, if I were people who can talk to the leaders of the Brics, they need to come together with a plan that can be similar to the Marshall Plan that the Americans put into place in order to help rebuild Europe in the aftermath of World War II. They should be doing that to provide the funds that these countries that are aspiring to be sovereign, so that they can have the means to sustain their respective revolutions.
Absolutely.
Mali has issue of electricity, Niger issue of electricity, Burkina Faso. While they're fighting against the West, or they're trying to free themselves from the West, they do not have the financial means in order to sustain and to support their respective revolutions. What the countries of the Brics are doing, for me, these are conversations that we need to have as we are talking about maybe the new mission of the Brics or the new vision of the Brics. But the most important thing is about building a polycentric world. It's about shared prosperity, and they need to do a little bit more than what they're doing in order to support the countries that are in need, that are trying to free themselves, from the European, as they're trying to decolonize their economies, and they try to decolonize themselves, and they try to free themselves.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Nyaka. And just to remind you, ladies and gentlemen, if you are just tuning in, this is Global Insight, a discursive knowledge sharing program on For You Media Africa, where we seek to analyze topical issues and see where we can have a compromise that will fit in the new world dispensation. And with all that has been said, it challenges now the BRICS leaders who are meeting in Kazan at this particular moment. Like you mentioned earlier on, Punima, at the end of the summit, we are going to see a unified declaration coming from the member states, and I think it will touch the areas of economic politics and others as the world is maybe witnessing these transformations. So now, what do you think is the capacity of the BRICS under their new vision to bring about the reform of other maybe global structures that the BRICS group needs to align with to be able to bring about the equality, this just and equal world that we are advocating for. We are looking at the United Nations Security Council and other bodies that will stand as impediment even to the vision of the BRICS bloc.
To who?
Punima?
Okay.
Hello, Punima, are you still there?
Okay. Well, Clarissa, I muted. Okay, so this is very important question of the day. And today in your discussion, I observed and heard all other speakers from West to East and Africa. The main question is that what we are dreaming, okay, what is our vision with this transformation? From Western organizations like United Nations, WTO, and many international organizations who were governing world till now. And now from 16 years, BRICS is coming up and we are saying we are good, you are good, and what we are giving from BRICS to the world. And according to me, what is very important, because so many chapters are there, as I discussed, different dimensions, currency, security, climate change, and many other issues are there. But I am concerned with one issue, that as a woman, what we are achieving from the BRICS economies. Because in our countries, in Asia and Africa, many children and many women are still dying with hunger. Is BRICS is having capacity to provide food for all? Because so many things we cannot discuss, we cannot achieve. One thing I want to focus, that BRICS is saying that we all are equal, and we are saying that we take decision according to all people's consciousness. Okay, so now first thing which is burning question of the day is BRICS summit and BRICS players and BRICS leaders are able to give this assurance to the world that yes, we will provide a program under which everybody will get food with dignity, with nutrition value.
Yeah.
So this is my first area of interest, that no child should die due to hunger under the BRICS economies, especially in Africa and Asia. And if this agenda is important for the BRICS countries, BRICS leader, then we are really happy that we are entering into new world transformation and we are going towards prosperity and security of our next generation future. We don't want to give our children for the hunger and for the war. We want security and peace. So this is the transformation common people need today from the BRICS summit, and I hope we will get some results on it, because yesterday in one press conference and Technopark conference, we declared Food for All program. Let's see how this program will take place and how many countries are supporting this program. So let's see, we don't want hunger, we don't want war, we want peace and prosperity for everybody, for all human beings and for all countries at equal level. Thank you very much.
Thank you too, dear Punima. And of course, talking about inclusivity, how can the world live and of course ensure sustainable development? And that's what I'm going to channel to you, or Mr. Ashil Eki, mechanisms to be established in the new Brics vision to foster sustainable development and investment in infrastructure, particularly in emerging economies within, let's be more particular from the African perspective.
Good question, Paris. Thank you so much. Yeah, I just wanted to say to Dr. Nyaka that, I'm a financial person. I'm not mostly an economist, mostly in finance, and I'm not a liberal guy. All I'm saying is that based on what he said BRICS should bring a new philosophy, economic philosophy to the world if they want to be different from the West. And this is where I disagree with him. But, based on what he just said earlier, there's a total agreement between him and I. We're on the same page now, so there's no issue there. Just want to make sure that, that philosophy thing, because philosophy means that we all have to have the same understanding of things, whereas when we look at BRICS today, they're all divergent. There's, just like he mentioned, China has Confucianism, Russia has its own, Africa, everybody has his own way of thinking about philosophy, life, how to better people's life. And at the end of the day, that's all what we want. So I'm glad we have an agreement on that. So coming back to your question, Clarice, I think what Africa and the whole world wants today is the opportunity to do business with whomever they choose, really. I mean, it's true that, the reality, as mentioned by Mr. Paseka, is that, there are powerful, groups, powerful nations like the United States and the West that are, preventing us from doing what we want. That's true. But the idea is to figure out how to get away from that. That's a situation that we've been living for the past centuries, but we need to get away from that. And BRICS gives us an opportunity through its multipolarity, agenda, and also through the de-dollarization agenda that they're putting forward. It gives us the opportunity now to leverage those opportunities to free ourselves from that diktat, of the West. And that's where we are going to be able to find the partners that we need to free ourselves. We mentioned earlier the Sahelian country, that have been, that have been kicking out both the U.S. and the French militaries out of their countries. So how did they do that without, without shooting, without having a single shot? So that's just because people understood that, when you align with yourself with countries that have the same vision as yours, have the same interests as yours, and that are powerful enough to provide you with the means to be able to protect yourself, defend yourself in case of attack, and that also it's a way to influence the other countries like the West, to understand that, hey, now if you attack those countries, they have powerful partners behind them to defend them, and this could get worse, and it's not very productive. So that's why they had to leave. But that's the strategy we need to focus on. The idea is every country can leverage BRICS today to figure out how to focus on its own development and find the right partners that they can do business with without looking looking back and being scared of either the French or the Americans coming and trying to challenge them and trying to prevent them from doing business with who they want. So that's the idea, and we can use that as Africans as Pan-Africanists, to be able to build partnerships and then, kick those, those colonial powers out of the continent, and then organize ourselves within the continent, using the different tools that we have. And those tools, some of the tools we need also to make some changes, to those tools. I'm talking about here the African Union, for example, that is being financed, by the West. If somebody is financing your organization, they have a say in what you're doing in that organization. So we need to figure out the way to kick those people out and find a way to finance our own organization, and then focus on liberating the whole continent, and therefore building a giant, powerful economic force that will have say in all the world matters. And that's the idea, because if we don't do that, then we're still going to be depending on aid from this part of, somebody also mentioned another Marshall Plan. Those things, I don't want to hear those Marshall Plans. This is what the U.S. did to build Europe and dominate Europe. Now Europe is becoming, very slave, they're becoming slave countries to the U.S. today. No, we need to be able to build our own force, create our own development through our own means without help from anybody. Unless we are attacked, then we can have partners that can help us defend ourselves.
All right.
That's the idea.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you so much, Mr. Ashil Ekeya. And of course, coming back to you, Dr. Nyaka Lakokia, as you have mentioned the need for a new vision, new face for the BRICS to make it different from what the world is living now. Maybe on the 24th of October, leaders will be coming with a unified declaration after the summit. So in your own perspective, what do you think are those key points or areas where these leaders need to capitalize on and ensure that the world doesn't look like what is it with different people or organizations at the helm?
Yeah, I was because I was moving to another meeting, so I'm going to speak quick, and then I'm going to leave you guys. I said it already. One thing I learned doing work on international development is that usually the policies that people need to elaborate have to take into account the cultures of the people for whom they want to conceive the policies.
Yeah.
So I'm good. It's not to come back to the same debate with Ashil.
Yeah.
They need to put emphasis on values of solidarity. When we had COVID-19, for instance, we saw that the idea of living by the rules and the values of individualism, capitalism, and the neoliberalism could not help us deal with the COVID crisis. So solidarity values are important, and so these need to be, if I were around, I will have suggested that to the leaders of the BRICS. That's number one. Number two, yes, we need to build the polycentric world, but they need also to work on the decolonization of the economy, which means that the structures of the African economies, the international, the patterns of international economies need to be decolonized. Number three, yes, the debate about the international institutions, particularly the United Nations. Mm-hmm. They need to deconstruct the way the international system was built. If we want a world of freedom, a world of solidarity, we cannot continue the way the international the United Nations is conducting its business. The veto right, if they want to keep the veto right, they have to give that to some African countries that are going to join, or they should join. They have to join the Security Council of the United Nations, or they need to understand that the international system has to be deconstructed. Okay. For me, these are things that they should do so that they can show that they mean business, that they're sincere about building a new world. Point number 4, I have mentioned that already, countries like Mali, Niger, and Burkina that have already expressed the interest for true sovereignty need to be supported because they need help. They cannot get that from the West. They need to get that from the Brics countries. And Russia and China have to take the lead in order to make that happen. These are the elements that I would like to see in the way as they try to shape, the architecture of the new Brics. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I think they're doing that already.
Thank you so much,
Dr.
Lakuki.
Oh, no, not really. I was in Mali, and they had electricity problem there. I was there.
Yes,
thank you very much.
They're building power plants.
It's actually going to be a subtle process, and I think with this new dispensation,
but they're doing it. So that's my point. We are saying the same things, but it feels like we're saying something different. No, we're saying the same thing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Of course, it is imperative that we reach a compromise of understanding, championing the African cause across the global world. And now I come to you, Paseka Farameli, still on the perspective of Africa. We are looking at the Sahel states that have taken a milestone and entering into real cooperation with BRICS nations. Let's now bring it to this for a point to look at African countries like Egypt and Ethiopia that are officially members of the BRICS bloc in this new dispensation. So what role can these countries play to advocate the Africa's agenda, and what competitive advantage? Today we're talking about 3 African countries being members of the BRICS bloc, but 2 of these countries have some diplomatic feuds. How can we navigate this to not derail from the agenda to that will be more transformative under the Africa We Want Agenda 2063?
Thank you, Clarice. It is going to be a very difficult one, because if we are speaking of countries that do not share similar ideas, thus end up being in disagreement, trying to get them on board so that they can work towards a common goal, that is very difficult, because at the end of the day, this should be the responsibility of leadership to understand that there are problems that are bigger than their own problems. So what I'm saying is that the liberation of Africa and its independence is more important than feuds between countries. These 2 things are very important, even though I understand that when presented at the same time, some countries will tend to disagree. They will tend to believe that both of these disagreements are the same, or both of these problems are the same. But realistically and in practice, they are not the same. The liberation of Africa and the rest of the countries in the continent is more important than the problems that countries have, the diplomatic problems that countries have individually. And I wanted to speak specifically to the question. When you started it, you spoke to specifically the problems of the Sahel. I think that there is something that we necessarily need to discuss when we speak into the Sahel. Africa's overdependence on foreign countries, specifically those countries of the Sahel, their overdependence on France, means that when you want to liberate yourself from the grasp of your colonizer, you will not be able to see any light for several decades. It is not something that is instant. And this is where I believe your question is coming from, that how do we then support those countries who are able to say they're going to cut ties, but they are willing to settle for several decades without having a stability? They're going to have to find, they're going to take time to get into a stable state. The reality of the matter is that these countries that are semi-stable, I look at Ethiopia. In Ethiopia in itself is not it's not as stable as you would like it to be. Comparing Ethiopia's growing economy to maybe Egypt's growing economy, Morocco's growing economy, South Africa's growing economy, they are quite different. You know, Ethiopia, we know that they are strategically positioning themselves to progress, but they themselves are not as stable as you would ideally like a country to be. We know not so long ago there were issues that they have in Tigray, and we know that there is still several military groups that exist in that country. It becomes now very difficult to expect that country that is struggling from its own instabilities to come and influence or assist other countries that are in urgent need of assistance from Brics countries, specifically those in the continent of Africa. You see, so it becomes a bit complicated when you expect those who do not have enough to also be able to help those who have even less. But with the concept of Ubuntu that we spoke to earlier on, I believe that the little that we have should be enough for us to be able to successfully navigate the system that continues to try and oppress these specific countries, those who are in the Sahel, so that other countries in the continent can also see that there is a possibility or there are chances that we can also survive if we were able to remove ourselves from these relations that continuously and perpetually oppress us. So it is more theoretical, but ideally in practice I think that I have somewhat given something that I believe is something of a solution, but with the understanding that it can't be perfect and it is going to be very difficult for everyone to be successful in their for countries such as Ethiopia to be able to liberate others when they themselves have their own problems. And it's a huge chunk of land, Ethiopia. There's huge areas that are still very fundamentally dry desert and rural. Thank you, Doris.
Okay, thank you so much, Pasika. We still have about 9 more minutes to be together, and it will bring us to the concluding statements from all the participants. And I start off with you, dear Punima, with all that has been said from the start of the program till now. What do you think is the scope for the Brics to navigate this complex world, the reality of a new world order?
As per today's discussion, we are observing different speakers and current world problem. Yes, it is very difficult to get solution in one summit because problems are there, and step by step we will find the solution. But this is one good thing, is that we are having another new platform where we can discuss new world order expectations, our visions, and what we need. This we can describe in new format. So we are coming out from Western think tanks, we are coming out from Western international organizations, and we are developing our think tanks and our organization to do work together, to do the new alliances for new world order. I hope step by step we will get the solution, and this BRICS summit will also give new opportunities and new currency solution to BRICS economies to get strength and new areas for the trade routes. And I think at humanitarian cooperation, this is very important, that we should not depend on World Bank and United Nations food agencies. We should have our own capacity to feed our people instead of investing our money on internal relation and weapons to fight with the different countries. We should have peace solution at our borders, and we should provide good opportunities to our next generation. I am expecting this from BRICS 2024, at least at our own capacity. We will unite and we will support each other.
Indeed, the expectations are actually high as the world is watching. I do note that this summit is actually attracted the attention of the global world because it is of great importance, given that the host country is actually navigating, a whole lot of economic sanctions at this particular moment due to the proxy war in the eastern Europe. So the stakes are actually high. And a concluding phase from you, Mr. Ashil Eki, on the expectations as the BRICS leaders continue to deliberate in Kazan.
Right. So I think the expectations are based on the agenda they put forth on this event. The expansion and multipolarity, that's one agenda, that's one point of the agenda, meaning that the significant focus of the summit is going to be on potential expansion of BRICS through establishment of new category of partner nations. So this move is part of a broader strategy to promote a multipolar world order. Therefore challenging Western dominance and advocating for equitable global development. So on the economic cooperation and financial system front, this summit discusses the creation of new financial instruments that are independent of Western control, right? So this includes the introduction of BRICS Pay, which is a new currency, a new payment system that's designed to facilitate trade among member states without relying on Western systems like SWIFT. On the third front, there's sustainable development and energy transition, which means that cooperation for sustainable development is a priority with discussions on transitioning from fossil fuels to green energy while prioritizing national economic interests over climate goals.
Okay.
The fourth point is information security and AI ethics. The summit addresses cooperation in information security and the development of a code of ethics for artificial intelligence applications. And then the last one is health initiatives, which means that there's a proposal to establish a BRICS Medical Association that's aimed at creating an early warning system for infectious diseases and epidemics in the world. So there's a lot that we expect from this summit, and it looks like there is at the end of these 2 days, this 2-day summit, we're going to have a lot of decisions made, and hopefully that will really help the world be a better place to live. Because we're tired of war, we're tired of famine, we're tired of domination, we're tired of control, we're tired of all these things that are preventing people from giving their own potential. Okay. Only few countries have the right to live freely, to enjoy their resources, they're endowed by God, in their soul. Only few countries have to enjoy this world. No, we have to expand that. We have to cut off all these hindrances and then, chart our new path. And BRICS is the way to go.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Mr. Ashil Eki. We need to chart the new part that includes all of humanity. We are ending off with you, Pasika Faramali. 2 minutes, please, as we round off. What are your expectations, or what do you think are those major decisions that will be binding at the end of the Kazakh summit come October 24th, 2024?
Thank you, Clarice. Just quickly, I think that clarity and understanding on the way forward in terms of the BRICS banks and how this will be able to help other countries, like with your previous question, which I'll not go back to, because I think fundamentally the one thing that holds back a lot of countries is that it is something that is an option for others than specifically for those on the Sahel who were able to take back what is theirs. Then we would be going somewhere. And lastly, and more importantly, I think that there needs to be clarity in terms of once you are a part of BRICS, what are your expected realities and what is expected of you. And what I mean by this is that you cannot have tensions within Brics if you're working towards overtaking something as powerful as the dollar. You cannot. You will fail dismally, and that is unfortunately the reality of it. So if they were able to establish that these relations and rapports that they have internally are going to be stabilized so that they can do more work externally, then we would go somewhere. Thank you very much, Clarissa. I will leave it there.
Thank you so much, Pasika Farumalia. Lady and gentlemen, I wish to appreciate all your insight as we navigated this topic of what clear agenda the Brics has in this global transformation. As the days unfold, we're going to see the outcome, the final communique or declaration, and we are going to come back subsequently to analyze the feasibility of such a declaration. Just to note that For You Media Africa has a team in Kazan at the moment, as they are actually following and getting first-hand information on the development of this Croatia summit, the 16th Brics summit in Kazan. And Njix Nabisi actually prepared something for us, and with I will invite us all to listen to her live from Kazan in Russia.
In Kazan, Russia, where the 16th Brics Summit is taking place here, and of course numerous heads of state and government have made their way here for this historic summit of its kind. And of course we should note that we have seen South African President Cyril Ramaphosa, who arrived here to participate at this year's summit, including the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi. We should equally highlight that in China's President Xi Jinping equally made his way to this year's summit, and the Iranian president equally answered present. Meanwhile, the stakes are high. These various leaders, including leaders from the African continent, who are expected to participate in this year's summit, shall be signing numerous bilateral cooperations, and of course we'll be discussing not just economic growth and development, but shall be discussing equally security. We should highlight that at this year's summit, the security has been tightened, and of course the Russian Federation has made sure that every individual, be it a media entity or say a government official that takes part in the summit, is safe. Ladies and gentlemen, For You Media Africa is on the ground. Reporting is Njix Nabisi, Sikandumbe, and of course Ali Diallo for You Media Africa.
And that brings us to the end of today's edition of Global Insider. Do have a lovely moment as you continue to watch programs on For You Media Africa. Always have in mind that it is another view of the world. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.